All right, Tracy, you can start.
All right, so for the first time since I've been here, we're holding the 2 meetings at the same time. So how it'll work is we'll open up the Board of Selectmen's meeting, and then you'll open up the Recreation Commission meeting. And then we have a joint agenda. And then I think you guys have extra stuff on your agenda. So, okay, so we'll close our meeting, and then you guys can carry on with yours when we're done with the other stuff. Okay. So I call the 7 p.m. meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order.
So I will call the Recreation Commission meeting to order at 7:01.
Okay. We're gonna put it on the agenda, but we can do it. Okay, let's do the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So for the new business of the meeting is to review the bids for the Gate Street Recreation Complex Master Plan. So I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at them. We can decide today if we want to pick some to interview or how we want to proceed going forward.
Can I speak if that's okay?
Yeah.
I would like to research a little bit more. I don't think we really had enough time. I know that the names of the firms were stated on the bid. It doesn't, any of their websites don't really give us a true indication of what their real history is. I do have some colleagues of mine working on doing some research for me. I work for an engineering firm to try and get some more information. I think it's worthy of us to maybe not make a decision now and maybe use this as an opportunity to maybe procure a firm for not specifically the rec commission, but for the town itself for future projects, whether it be steep or lot zip or anything else that
Right,
might.
we would still have to go to bid for all those different projects too. So we just want to be on task for this project,
Okay,
for what they put in their plans, what they're going to do for this project.
okay,
So that's what we want to focus on now, because any other project, we're going to have separate bids, separate qualifications, separate everything. So the
Understood.
firms are all going to
Understood.
fit differently for different.
I just think that in my opinion, tonight might be a little bit premature to make a choice and accept the bid.
Well, we've had all of the material available for everyone to read for the past week or two now. So it's clear once you've read their plans, like who stands out and who doesn't, as far as what they can do for us as per what we're requesting.
Okay,
So I don't know if anyone else wants to take time. We do this all the time with our projects, and John's also familiar with some of the companies. He's worked with them before too. So if anyone
well,
else
I'm
thinks.
happy for information from especially John and yourself,
Right.
if you have any, you know.
Right. So I've looked at the plans. I know Mark has, I know a couple other people have too. So it's clear when you look through them, which ones stand out and which ones don't, or which fit us and which ones don't.
Okay, well, I haven't looked through them yet, so I don't really know. that.
Yeah.
Of the top 2 contenders, what makes them stand out over the other?
Well, you can clearly tell their prices stand out. When we were looking through them, some of the things we noticed was their length of their project, how many public meetings they had, how they were going to work with us for what we were looking for. Everyone has in there. This one is in section 2. They have their project work plan specific to what we're requesting and what they can do for us. So I know there's 3 that I would recommend to interview. I don't know what anyone else that looked at them thought too.
I would agree that when,
Very low is the one.
yeah, coincidentally, I mean, just like you were saying, the 3 lowest ones seem to put the most effort in and, you know, specify specifically for Voluntown instead of, you know, like the just filling up the 20, 30 pages with
How
generic.
good they are.
Yeah,
Cut and paste.
right.
Yeah, you can clearly tell which ones did that when you're looking at it.
Right. And I believe 2 out of the 3 are relatively local. Like there was
Rhode
one from,
Island, Connecticut,
right,
they would have,
right. I think there was one from Boston, which
There
actually,
were a couple from Massachusetts.
right,
Yeah, they
yeah. And then there was one from like,
New
yeah,
York. There were a
like
couple-
just outside of New York City.
Manhattan. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, and then actually, I think one of them, the highest one from Connecticut. I don't know if this is true, but based on what I interpreted, it kind of seemed like they just focused more on architecture, not necessarily like engineering. I can't remember their name, but I know, for example, like CHA. So some of these firms are
in the
bigger.
packet right there, we made packets for everyone, it has the price listings for the 3 lowest.
Yeah.
So, it shows, it's 10, I think.
Some of these firms are bigger than others. So I would assume that there's more resources that go along with that. So I would agree with,
I would
Great.
suggest we pick a couple to interview.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Would, in the interview process, would that close off the chance for other firms to still throw their hat in?
Well, the only firms that we can pick from are the ones that submitted bids before. So with no more companies can come in, it's just the ones that submitted.
Do you want John to get his?
right, John, do you have any experience with any of the firms that submitted bids?
Yeah, I sure do. It's funny going in. So I'm familiar with most of these firms. And in fact, full disclosure, I worked for about 15 years for the firm that was recently acquired by CHA. So I actually worked for the firm CHA for a year before I started my own company. So I've worked with a lot of those guys for many years. And it's funny that the 3 firms that I would have recommended sight unseen in terms of price were the 3 lowest bidders. And so I think you actually have 3 excellent choices just going strictly by price. I'll say just a couple of things about each of them. CHA, which most of the key players were with CME, which was a Northeast Connecticut firm for 40 years. Several of their key players for this project are Eastern Connecticut people. Pete Parent and Chuck Eaton both lived for many, many years in Sterling. Their survey director, Craig Bigger, lives in Preston City. And they have deep roots in Eastern Connecticut. And really, I think they understand small town stuff. When CME got acquired, CHA is much bigger now. I mean, it's now a 1,500 person firm. So they have a lot of deep resources, but your project managers will be people who understand rural Eastern Connecticut really well. And I have strong relationships with a lot of those guys. And also, just final note on CHA, they are also currently the preliminary design team who is going to be helping the town with the Forge Hill Road Bridge project. So they're already working in town. That's CME. They were CHA rather. They were the lowest bidder. The second lowest, I believe, was Fitzgerald and Halliday, or FHI Studio. FHI Studio is the 2 things they do very, very well are landscape design and public outreach. They are extraordinarily good at public engagement and public outreach. They did just buy a landscape design firm. They basically, I believe it was called TO Design, and which was a 5 or 6 person landscape firm, and they basically just acquired them over about 6 months ago. So they just really ramped up their horsepower in terms of landscape architecture, landscape design. They to my knowledge, don't have a ton of Eastern Connecticut experience, but they've been a Connecticut firm for 25 years and know working in small towns. When I was thinking of leaving CHA about a year and a half ago, I talked to FHI as a potential landing site. So I like that firm very much. The third lowest bidder, I believe, was Barton and LaJudas, which acquired about 2 years ago. They acquired Anchor Engineering, which was a Glastonbury-based firm that has a lot of work in Eastern Connecticut. I don't know, some of you may have been familiar with Anchor. And the principals of that group, particularly their lead landscape architect, Kevin Grindle, is an Eastern Connecticut kid. He has lived in Hampton his whole life and has spent a lot of time in the small towns in Eastern Connecticut, and is very committed to working on small town projects. So those guys are they were acquired by Barton and LaJudas, which is a New York-based firm, but their principals involved in this, their engineers and their landscape architects, are all Eastern Connecticut based. And I'm very, very comfortable with them. I'll full disclosure on that, Kevin Grindle, who I mentioned, their landscape architect, happens to be the chairman of Hampton Planning and Zoning Commission, where I also serve as a planner. So I've worked with Kevin a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. If you would be interested in talking with more than one firm, I think that lowest three, as I said, would be absolutely my top 3 choices in some order. If you were eager to move this along and just go with the lowest bidder, I frankly was surprised that CHA came in low, because they're ordinarily a relatively expensive group in these proposals. But I know that they're committed to quality customer service and delivering a high quality product. So if you wanted to straight go price, CHA is a very good choice. But I think you wouldn't go wrong interviewing those top 3. And I appreciate the time.
The ones that we printed off the wrong one. So the bottom firms are not.
So it's not the
Not the Copley
CWD.
Wolf one.
Okay.
It's the B&L. We don't have the B&L.
Sorry, we have a logistic thing. We're working on it.
Did I get the bottom 3 bidders
No,
correct?
we did.
No, we
Oh, okay.
have the wrong 3. We have 2 of the right 3
This is
printed
the
off.
one we need instead of the other one.
So the cover one,
They're really close because the 4th lowest one was 49. So the 49 is the 4.
What's the second one?
The lowest was CHA. The second lowest was,
FHI Studio.
HI.
and then the third lowest was the one Julie just got. And the 4th lowest
one
is
is-
the,
CWVG, and that's the
Yeah.
one from Boston.
yeah. For the bottom ones were really close.
So what was the name of the other one you just mentioned? Barton? What?
Barton Wood.
It's Barton and LaJudas. And their Connecticut office is in Glastonbury. Their headquarters is like in Albany or something like that. It's interesting, actually. Both Barton and LaJudas and CHA are Albany firms that acquired Connecticut engineering firms basically within a couple of months of each other. Like they were competing to grow into the New England market, and they both bought firms right about the same time.
Would these bottom 3, or we'll just call them the lowest, lowest bidders, they'll be able to help us from like A to Z, like, because, assume that none of us are experts in this. We're gonna need someone who can see us through this project. All 3 of these would be able to do that.
Yeah, yes. I would say the one caveat of those 3 is that Fitzgerald and Halliday FHI does not do a lot of hard engineering. They do primarily planning and design. I don't know how many PEs they have on staff that stamp plans. you get, they're again, very, very good at master plans and things like that. But if you're looking to get, engineering, biddable designs, for the sidewalks or for something like that, I don't know that FHI would be able to deliver that. And might want to give them the opportunity to tell you that they can, but they tend not to do a lot of like stamping of engineering designs. The other two, Barton and LaJudas and CHA, are big time engineers.
Who was have like a total package type situation that could provide the engineering as well.
We can
Right,
ask them.
In-house.
right,
type
exactly.
Full package.
Just it from A to Z,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
And it's-
assume that.
Do you not agree, John?
I think it'd be very, very useful, because I think one of the things that you want, particularly on some of the obvious infrastructure that we need, like sidewalks up Gate Street, you want those engineering designs to be just about shovel ready, and certainly bid ready, so that when the money is in place to actually construct this thing, we can just hit the ground running. But I don't want to say Fitzgerald and Halliday does not have that capacity, but that has not been their primary business model. They could have an engineer that can stamp on site, on team, but that really hasn't been what they do.
Yeah, those are all things we could find out from the interview.
That's what I was
Right.
gonna ask.
And,
Yeah.
and actually, we're hoping that there aren't any soil contaminations where that red barn is, but I suppose that's a possibility. So again, having a firm that has dealt with remediation in the past would probably be beneficial. So I don't know if I know just from the little research that I've done, I believe CHA has handled those types of projects in the past. And then
I think that kind of comes along with the whole closed package type situation. Whereas like an FHI landscape architecture firm doesn't necessarily deal with the engineering part of it,
Right.
maybe potentially. Like John said, that would be part of the interview process to find that out. It's a good bullet point to bring up,
right,
you know.
just try and anticipate all the unexpected.
Those could be exponential costs that we don't know about that we need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be wrong about that too, but I think both Barton and LaJudas, BNL and CHA have licensed environmental professionals, LEPs on staff, and those are the guys that handle dirty dirt. I don't think Fitzgerald does or FHI does. They do have
Subcontracted out.
environmental planning staff, environmental scientists, but I don't think they have remediation people. And again, it may not come to that, but as you say, having a robust team that has all the disciplines is useful.
So I guess it's fair to say that we've kind of narrowed it down in this 15 minutes of discussion, pretty much 3 firms, which are the 3 lowest bidders, I assume, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, how do we go about the interview process? Is
Yeah.
this,
Do we need to interview him? I'm willing to go with the lowest bidder right now. Let's roll the ball. He says it's a good firm. He's surprised they're low, but what do we interview?
it is nice to have kind of a liaison with some experience with everybody,
Some of the things that we might just want to question, when you read the plans, the time frames are different from them. That's why,
Yeah,
that's why they're lower,
Was
because
there the day
they're,
we opened?
All right,
I realized
so
there's some discrepancy.
This is
There.
FHI.
they were like a certain number of months and some of them are longer. So,
Right. Time with an engineering firm, with a consulting firm is money. And I think, CHA probably had the tightest turnaround.
But they had a lot packed in that time, so if that's who we picked, everyone's gonna know that we're gonna be moving quickly on this.
Here we go.
The local.
Here's
I know
project
people with
schedule
it too,
for
and they're doing
one.
Bridge.
Yeah. They have a lot going on in their plan, and I like it because they have meetings scheduled in there for the committee
Right.
meetings, and they have the plan with the committee meetings, the public meetings, like everything. A lot of them have that, but they have it in shorter amount of time.
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt to interview, just to get that face to face.
Like what extra information?
Just essentially, instead of asking John these questions, ask them.
You kind
See
of
what
want to
their
make sure you're
response
gonna work well, that
Right.
we're gonna work well with them too. So it does, I've met most of them already because they came to the, like,
Bid opening.
site walk, yeah. the-
Anybody wants to see what the schedule is?
And asking them,
CHAs.
you know, about what they, you know, for example, CHA, they gave us the shortest timeline by far, I think. It was it like 4 or
Yeah,
5 months?
It was like less than 6. I think.
So if we ask them and they
16
say,
weeks.
oh, yeah, well, it could be close to a year, well, that, you know, I don't suspect that, but that's just something that we should probably.
So
ask.
theirs goes to 16-week projected schedule. This
So the
one,
longer you wait and somebody else scoops them up, then it's gonna push their delivery back.
FHI is.
Well, if you're under contract, it doesn't.
Yeah,
If you're under
You can
contract
put-
with them, it doesn't.
That's why we should enter a contract with us.
Well,
he's saying skip the interview.
Yeah, I'm not. Going to come to a bunch of interviews to end up picking the lowest people are in. My opinion.
I definitely think for public relations, interviewing is necessary. People are gonna wanna know, like, how did you come up with these? The number one, they're gonna think it's their taxpayers' money, which maybe it might be. They're gonna wanna know as
You
much
pick the lowest
information.
bidder, that's not gonna
Do you guys
cost-
want to see the schedules and
Money,
yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about, it? Here's the 3 comparative.
I suppose you're right.
John, is that a valid concern that Mike has? You know, the longer that we take to pick a company, the farther our project might get pushed back.
I just want to.
No,
doubting
no,
that.
but all of these, I think all of these, I'm not concerned that you guys are going to be taking 6 months to make a decision. I suspect even if you wanted to interview them, we could have the interviews knocked out in 2 or 3 weeks. That's really not going to affect the project. These guys are ready to go whenever.
I guess how would we set up this interview, like schedule? You think we
You guys are in charge. So you find a time that's good for you and you demand that they'll be there and they'll be there.
okay,
You don't have to work around their schedule. You dictate the schedule to them.
We can even do it in one time and just.
that's what I'm thinking. Can we line them up back to back? Okay,
Yeah, when we did the town attorneys, that's what we did. They all came in saying, like, yeah, we gave them each 15 minutes to speak or something like that.
Right.
And they
we
were
may
all
not
there.
need much longer.
Right.
And then
And if they did, they
questions.
stand out there and waited, you know.
Are you
And
gonna-
I would,
Are these people?
We
Yeah.
could, yeah, yeah, we probably should.
Yeah.
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 Prepared.
if I could suggest a relatively small interview team, I think it's a little bit more efficient and it aids in scheduling. So, you know, if you wanted to have someone from the Board of Selectmen or one person or two from Parks and Rec, keep the groups relatively small. And if you have a virtual component, then everyone else can watch on YouTube, I suppose.
Is anyone chomping at the bit to?
I think you should be a part of
Okay.
it.
Anyone?
I would like to put my vote in, I guess. And everyone can submit
Okay.
questions too, so.
Okay,
And it doesn't mean everybody can't be here to listen. It's just
Yeah.
one
Right.
person wants to
Ask.
ask the questions.
okay.
Public meeting, anybody can.
Should we
And like,
pick the 3 or
yeah.
what?
so
Okay, should we keep it at 3?
I think that's easiest.
Okay.
Those 3 were the closest and the
Right,
cheapest.
no, and
three
3 people for the.
Oh, the 3 people.
Well, I think it should be a culmination of the entire group to come up with the questions.
Yeah.
Correct. Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, everyone can
Okay,
submit
okay,
questions,
okay.
but yeah, to have 3 people like run it, so.
Or does more than one selectman need to be on?
I nominate Tracy.
Okay.
Second.
There's a lot of all knowing in here.
So it's me
I
and
would,
you.
yes,
and
I
someone
would also suggest Mike.
Second,
else. Okay.
I mean, you have the construction.
We're modeling my kitchen right now.
Eh,
You're not, somebody else.
Yeah.
John,
Oh, yeah.
John can be there.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, you can schedule the interviews for your kitchen. Don't worry about it. They'll come to you.
Okay, via YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Dean should be part of that as well, for
That's not
documentation
formal.
purposes.
Okay, to
Gotta
do
be the
minutes and
secretary.
whatnot.
sure.
Yeah, and I think Julie, you said it, you know, we can have
Mhm.
viewers, just only 3 people asking questions.
Okay.
So,
Any ideas on dates, or do you want to get back on
What works for you guys?
would it be an evening or like a daytime?
the evening, probably?
Yeah, we can do evening. Well,
We could
I-
definitely start tonight. We have a meeting and we have 40 minutes left, half hour left. It's,
yeah, I guess I was just gonna say, what do we have on the agenda for next meeting? Should we just
Make it at the next meeting.
tag it along with that?
we can do that as well.
Do we have anything pressing?
We can vote on that tonight.
That's the plan.
To do it the night of the neck rec meeting,
Right.
which is October. what?
Fifth.
Fifth.
So that, yeah, it's like 3 weeks.
I think that kind of buys us a little bit
2
of
weeks
time.
from
That
tomorrow.
buys us enough time.
It sounds like the lowest 3 bidders are definitely in the running. We definitely like to interview the 3 lowest bidders.
Yeah.
I think that buys us 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks to come up with any questions on our own.
And if
we can have our
anyone
meeting.
hasn't read these yet, we have a couple of copies. So,
In fairness to the people that you're going to be talking to, you might want to get the questions to them beforehand. So that
yeah.
That's
We're talking doing that
an
tonight.
excellent point. That's an
Yeah.
excellent point.
Because you don't want to waste their time or your time.
No, that's
Want
that's
as sharp
absolutely,
as possible answer.
Okay.
their
Tracy,
preparation,
do
their
you want John to
preparation
be
is
part of the
important.
interview or just here to ask questions or?
I think he should be.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he
Yeah, John, yeah, absolutely.
Did you catch that? You're being voluntold as well.
I didn't hear that.
They want to know if you would be willing and able to attend the interviews as well remotely if you want. Just to help give some input if we need.
That's what is it, October 5th, did you say?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a Wednesday night?
it is.
Yeah, I could do that. I would suggest, giving some consideration to, if you're bringing someone to a night meeting in Voluntown, if you are relatively comfortable with a virtual presentation or virtual Q&A, that would be, I think, helpful. Because I know, the Fitzgerald and Halliday people are at least coming from Hartford, if not farther out. If you don't mind a virtual component, I think that would be appreciated by the consultants. And, maybe the guys who want it most will come out in person and you'll have your answer. But it's that maybe a thing, it's something that everyone's going to ask anyway.
Right.
It's nice to
But
give me the option.
I'd be available virtually.
Okay, thank you.
He's not coming to you.
No, he doesn't need to get it to want it, so. No, but that's a good, discussion about that too, because if they have room to come, that does, because we're gonna need them here more than just once or twice. They're gonna need to be here half a dozen times at least.
In the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
evenings, weekends.
I think they understood that when they submitted their bids.
Hopefully.
This is a volunteer position.
Right.
We are available when we're available, same as the select people. So if they're willing to go to bat for us and do the work for us, then they'll be here.
All right, so to summarize, we're gonna send interview notices to CHA, Barton, and what is it?
FHI.
BNL,
Judas.
CHA, BNL,
And
and
FHI.
FHI. Yeah.
Okay. And the interview group will be Mike, Mark, and me, and it's gonna be on October 5th at 7. The meeting's at 7.
Yes.
Do you want them a little earlier?
Yeah, so I mean, if you might want to do like,
Yeah,
you could do like a 6, a 6:30, and a 7 or something like that.
Is that
Or,
what?
give yourself a half an hour, 45 minutes for each block.
6:30 and 7. Okay. and with a virtual option.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and if anyone has questions, if you want to email them to me or Julie or email them to Julie and we can put them all together. So,
And your questions are definitely recommended as well.
Yeah.
100%. And anybody, whether it's through planning and zoning,
Yeah.
whether it's through your end, whether it's through open space, whether it's through inland wetlands.
Yeah.
You know, please extend that to them, and for we could as well, you know.
so we got that all set for the bids. The next was the formation of a committee. There's pages right there. I wrote up a quick, yep, I wrote up a quick committee. So we would have, the board of selectmen would appoint a committee to oversee this project. And the recommendations are that the committee be made of at least 7 people with a person appointed from each of these groups so that we have a broad group of input. We have the elderly, we have someone from the school, we have someone from someone from the library,
Public Works.
because they're gonna, well, at least start off doing the like the groundskeeping and stuff. An abutting resident. So that's why some of these, when I was going through this, I'm like, some of these people are like all the rec commissioners.
I was gonna
We
say,
covered like
Jamie, check.
Not all of
not all, but
them.
Like you could ask to be appointed for the school because you would be the perfect representative from the school to be involved.
Yeah.
So, and I know, and I just think that would make the board have input from every person that would be working on, like enjoying the park or a part of it. So. So this will give us time to get input from those boards and commissions too on who they would recommend. I don't know if anyone had anything to add or suggestions to that. I think I took some of the wording like from some of the bids as to like what they were doing. So.
It's all inclusive. That's a good idea.
yeah.
It'll just be open till we have the recommendations from the groups and let's add people as we go along. So. And it can be more than 7 people.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And I think unless anyone else has anything, that's all we have. For the conflict.
Are you forming the committee tonight or selectmen meeting?
I will form the committee at the selectmen's meeting, but I can't really form it until all the other groups need to.
So are you
The other
gonna send
boards
out an
need to-
email to each chairman to send a recommendation maybe
Yeah.
Tuesday's meeting? So we can
Yeah.
move forward then?
Well, and at Tuesday's meeting, we'll like start the committee so that we can.
Yeah,
add
they do.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'll close the board selectmen's meeting.
So moved.
Aye.
Aye.
Just the 2 of us.
It's unanimous.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so our meeting's done. You guys can carry on.
Okay, John, I'm gonna turn you off now.
Okay, good night,
Thank
everybody.
you, John.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Bye, John, thank you. We're all sunburned.
I think it's setting in.
It takes forever. I don't know what's going on.